I'm Jon Whincup, and you join me on the banks of my favourite fishery, Decoy Lakes in Whittlesea, Peterborough. It's my favourite venue in the country really, and I just want to talk to you about a method that works brilliant this time of year. It's the pellet feeder, and as you can see I've got one on now. Oops, a bit bigger than I thought. I just want to talk to you about the method itself really. It catches so many fish this time of year, just a small pellet feeder, like a small pellet or maggots on the hook, and it accounts for so many weights this time of year. I'm scrapping a bit of this fish. I'll just try and get it in for you, but so you don't want to lose them this time of year. Feels like a barbel actually. No, got that wrong. There we go, lovely. Not the biggest of fish, but any fish this time of year is a bonus. You want to make them all count. And I'll just talk you through the method in detail as we go along. So what makes a good pellet feeder peg? Well, today we're actually on an open water lake today, but if you're on a lake, say like on this complex, you've got Beastie Lake, you've got a nice little island to cast to. Obviously it's out of pole range, so you can't fish a pole up to it, but you can cast a nice little pellet feeder. They're not too big, they're nice and small, so you only get a few pellets in them. They're ideal if you've got an island, but if you haven't got an island, like the lake we're on today, they're nice when you can just when you're casting past your pole range, if you can't quite catch on the pole, and in winter the fish can just drift away from you, so you can just cast past your pole range, say like 18, 20 metres. A nice little pellet feeder. It's almost like fishing with a pole. You're just putting a small amount of micros in, your little bait sat on top of it. You're almost having like setting yourself a little trap just past your pole line, as though you would with a little kinder pot on your pole. You're sort of doing the same job really, just out of range of your pole. So two different scenarios where the pellet feeder works just as well really. Another time when you'd fish the pellet feeder is this lake, especially if it's really windy and you can't present a pole, but you know the fish are living out in the middle of the lake, it's winter time, they're not going to come in close, they're going to be out in the middle. So if it's really windy, you can't hold a pole, you could just underarm a little pellet feeder exactly where you'd fish a pole, and you're just presenting that little pile of bait just as you would on the pole, but in the wind, and just a method you couldn't do on your pole, you just couldn't present it properly. So it just does the same job as a pole really. Bait wise on this method, really I suppose you got 2 or 3 baits. Obviously you got your micro pellets that you'd use in the feeder. It's just simple 2 mil or micro pellets, exactly the same. You just prepare them, basically soak them, not too long, 10 seconds or so, drain them off. They haven't got to be perfect like with a method feeder, say they've got to be perfectly moulded. With a pellet feeder you can get away with it a bit really. You're just pushing them into the feeder, so they haven't got to be perfect. Hook baits wise, well today I've got just a few hard pellets. I've got some 6 mils and some 8 mil hard pellets. They're probably my starting off go-to baits really, because they just blend nicely in with the micro pellets. Or you could obviously use your wafter type baits, all your different bright colours. Them days where you just want a standout bait, if you like, especially them really cold days when it's gin clear, a nice standout bait often works better. And probably my third bait is just simple, good old faithful maggots, dead reds, 2 of them on a size 18 hook. Like if all else fails, you chuck that out. If you can't get a bite on them, there's nothing in your peg basically. That is probably, I wouldn't say your last choice bait, sometimes that is the only bait to get bites on, but you'd be amazed what you catch on maggots. Great big carp, down to small roach and skimmers, lovely bait. But they're my choices, 3 choices really of bait, and they'll work on the day, just on the day really, what works best. Tackle wise on the pellet feeder, really I use two different types of rods. I've got the sphere bomb rod, the 10-foot version, and I use that for, say, your chucks up to, I don't know, 30, 35 metres. It's a nice soft rod, and not too long a chucks. When I'm going a bit further than that, say 35, 40 metres, I use the Jens Kosnick World Champion feed. It's the 11-foot version. Just when you're chucking a bit further, and actually got the Viper reel on that as well. When you're casting a bit further, it's got a lovely soft action on that rod, so you can when you're dragging fish back in winter, you don't want a rod that pulls the hook out of the mouths. Line wise, I've got the same on both. I've got 022 method mono on both. Don't need to go too heavy. Like through the summer months, I'd probably be fishing 024, even 026 main line. But like this time of year, 022 is perfect. You could even drop down to 020. It's such strong line anyway. I think I say 022 is about £10, I think, which is ridiculous really for what it is. Hook length wise, I've got 016, I think, yeah, 016, which is a hybrid mono line. You don't need much stronger than that. You might go up to 018 if it's really good, but 016 is plenty normally. That's solid here. But that's about it really, tackle wise. Two rods really are for two different distances, but they're both nice and soft, and obviously you don't want to be pulling hooks out of the fish's mouths. Yeah, ideal really. Onto the pellet feeders themselves. I'm using the new Browning, well, this is a 30 gram, but they come in all different sizes, 15, 20 and 30 gram. All different sizes really. They're just for the distance you're casting, I suppose, and like conditions on the day. If it's really windy, you might use a heavier one to go through the wind. But yeah, nice little, well, this is a free running pellet feeder, just down to a little bead, quick change bead. And hook length wise, I've got 016 down to it's only a size 18. It's a barbless carp feeder hook. I'll have two different sorts really. I'll have one as a straight hook just for putting maggots on, and one with a little band on which you can then put your pellets or your wafters and whatever on. But yeah, nice small hook, only an 18, that's plenty big enough for this time of year. And that's it really, just a nice simple setup, does the job every time. Swim selection on the pellet feeder, really it's about starting as close as you can. Obviously I don't mean starting at your feet, but like just past the pole line. Say that's your starting line would be, say, 18, 20 metres, and then move back, gradually moving away from you. Like have different swims. You can almost go left and right. You could have like two swims left and right, and you could even move each line as the day goes on. Just keep pushing out, and just alternate the swims. It's not about casting in the same old time after time in winter time. In fact, that's the worst thing to do really, because all you're doing a lot of times is building up more and more bait. And fish, they're just going to swim by it in winter. They're going to take one look at it and avoid it. You put little piles of bait in little separate holes, if you like. Nick a couple of fish off each line, and as the session goes on, you're going to be getting further and further out. And then, like I say, with a two rod setup, you can then go to your, you go to your longest rod then, and just gradually work your way out until you're at your limit really. And all being well, if you've timed it right, you'll be at your limit at the end of the match and nicking an odd fish as you like coming into the last sort of half an hour of the match. And that should see you through really. So what are the advantages of a pellet feeder over, say, a method feeder? Well really, there's two or three advantages really. One of them, the pellet feeder sits on the bottom a lot nicer. It doesn't, like if it's like say the bottom's silty, it doesn't sink into the silt so much. And the fish, they can only go in one way as well. With a method feeder, you can get fish coming at all different angles. With a pellet feeder, they can only go in one way. So your pellet or maggot sat in that little hole, the fish can only go in that way. So ideally, they just come in, they nail that bait and a nice fish on. I suppose another advantage is bait preparation. The pellets haven't got to be perfect. With a method feeder, you've got to get your pellets dead on, and otherwise they come flying off the feeder. With pellet feeders, as long as they're somewhat light and they're nice and soft, and they don't have to be super sticky. Oh, there's one on there. I best get that one in. But yeah, you can just basically, all you got to do is push your pellets into the feeders. They haven't got to be perfect at all. They can be some nice fish. They can just be somewhat light. You can just sort of dampen them down really. And if you do happen to mess your pellets up, like say you forget about them, like I often do things like that. You'll be setting up and you soak your pellets and you forget you're doing them, and when you come back to them, it's like you've messed them up. So it's easily done. We all do it. But yeah, and then you can still get away with it. They'll still work as long as they go in the feeder somewhat light. They'll do the job. They haven't got to be ultra perfect. Another nice little scrappy fish. Ooh. I'll say a lovely soft rod. Let's try and get them in for you. So this time of year you don't want to lose any fish really. Take your time. There he is, just popped up nicely. With a 3 pound fish. It's unhooked itself in the net, lovely. Saved me a job. Always hook me land in it. It's only a small fish, but well, I say about 3 pound, but this time of year they all count. Another lovely fish caught on the pellet feeder. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my guide to pellet feeder fishing here on the fabulous Decoy Lakes today. And if you want any more information on the tackle I've used, the rods, the reels, the landing net pole, just visit the Browning website on browning-fishing.com. You'll find out all the tackle I've used, plus any more tackle that you want to search up on as well.